Hello Year 12, welcome to our first video here for our 7th topic, scale maps and plans. First of all, we're going to look at scale drawings, and a scale drawing is a representation of some object as an image. Right, you can read that there in the notes. Typically speaking, we're going to look at something like a house or a large piece of land, and that's far too big to draw that at the exact size. Right, it would be too big. We want it on a piece of paper, so we're going to shrink it down. We're going to use a scale, it's a ratio, and typically that's written in the form 1 to something, which means that 1 unit on the image represents 5 of the same units on the object. Now, whether that's 1 centimetre represents 5 centimetres, 1 metre represents 5 metres, as long as the units are the same, we can use that scale, that ratio, for converting any of the units. Now here's an example. I've got a tennis racket and it's drawn at a scale of 1 to 12. Now don't worry if your measurement is different to mine, because you may have zoomed in on your screen or zoomed out. You may have a really big screen or a really small one on your phone. But I'm going to pull out my ruler and measure that, and I've got 5 centimetres. My scale is 1 to 12, so that means that every 1 centimetre on that image is 12 centimetres of the object. So 5 centimetres is 5 times 12. Right, so I'm going to come over here. Now see how this goes. Hang on. Okay. Over here, and I'm going to say 5 times 12 equals 60 centimetres. We're going to do this in some more depth in the next video, but that'll get us to begin with. Okay. My scale is 1 to 12, so I multiply my measurement by 12 will give me the image, the object size. Okay, let's have a look at example 2 here. I've got a few different scales and we need to write them as a ratio. Now one of these is a little bit different and a little bit tricky because it's not a reduction scale. But first of all, let's have a look here at A. Okay, A. Here we go. I need to measure that, and I'm going to say that, right, that's 20 kilometres. But actually I've got 4 centimetres, so I'm going to say my scale is something like 4 centimetres to 20 kilometres, right? Image to object. Whoops. Whoa, 20 km. Right, but I need consistent units, so I'm going to say 4 centimetres to, now, 20,000 would be metres. And I need to put 2 more zeros on there to make it centimetres. Okay, now we have consistent units. That's good. We just need to simplify that ratio. Oh, that's not quite right. Here we go. Try this one. That works well enough. So now I'm going to divide both sides by 4 centimetres, and I get 1, 2. Now I've got, what have I got there? 2 million. Divide that by 4, and I get 500,000. Right, that's part A done. Let's have a look at part B. Now, this is, I don't need to pull out the ruler to measure this one. I'm going to say I've got 10 millimetres to 1 metre. Okay, but I need consistent units, so let's say 10 millimetres to 1 metre is 1,000 millimetres. Right, 1,000 millimetres. It's getting a bit scruffy here. And now I divide both sides by 10 millimetres, and I get my scale of, come here, 1 to 100. Okay, no units in a scale. Right, keep that in mind, no units in a scale. It's a ratio because we're comparing the same units, no matter what they are. Now I said C is a weird one. C is a bit strange because it is an enlargement ratio, right? We've got 1, oops, I better put C here, 1 centimetre to 0.4 millimetres. So this might be, say, an engineering drawing of a very small component, right? So now I'm going to say that's the same as 10 millimetres is the same as 0.4 millimetres. Okay, that's not too bad. But I don't want a decimal, certainly. I'm going to say that's 100 millimetres to get rid of the decimal place, is to 4 millimetres. Now we'll divide both sides by 4, and I'll get 25 to 1. Notice 1 this time is on the right-hand side because it is an enlargement scale. Finally, let's look at D. Here we go. Again, I'm going to have to pull out my ruler and measure that, and I'm going to measure that and say, this was, right, when I measured that, it was equal to 6 centimetres. Right, why? Because I said so. Right, let's say I pulled out my ruler and that was 6 centimetres, so I say 6 centimetres. Right, image first to object second to 60 metres. Right, now I'll say that's 6 centimetres to 60. Right, how many, hang on, I'm going to have to pen a little bit here. Right, come back to this zoom in thing. Right, now I multiply metres by 100 to make it centimetres. Right, consistent units now. 6,000 centimetres. Now I'll divide both sides by 6 centimetres and I'll get 1 is to 1,000. Okay, there we go. That's example 2 done, and that is the end of our first video. Really, all we're doing there is simplifying ratios. Right, simplifying ratios. We might do a measurement as part of that, and remember that my scale is image to object. Okay. Thanks very much. If you've got any questions, you know what to do.